This is the Balanced Advisor Podcast with Dr. Travis Perry, helping financial advisors like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Advisor Podcast. I'm Dr. Perry, your host. Today we have with us Doug Gjerde. Doug guides middle-class millionaires to gain clarity and confidence in retirement. He focuses on retirement planning and tax reduction with his clients and helps younger advisors to gain clarity in their vision. Doug, welcome to the show and appreciate your time.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks.
You have a long list of alphabet soup after your name, which includes an MBA and a CFP. You're also an owner of the company that you have been working at for quite some time. You've had some recent business parties. You've been able to really give back to your clients, which is so fun. We're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show. We got to know each other a little bit in the pre-show. Been talking about some of these items that have to do with scaling and growth. But before we get there, tell us your story. How did you get into this industry? How did you end up, being a financial advisor?
Well, that's funny. This is probably my fifth career. I got into the industry in my 40s once I figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up. So had a weird path getting here, but this is one I chose and looked into for a while and lucked out having a friend that I had as a mentor that helped me get in, and I ended up eventually buying his business from him.
Yeah, there are a lot of different paths, and that definitely can be an issue, right? In staying in the industry. So you purchased a business, and did you already have the MBA then? Was that part of the process?
I did. Yep. I got the CFP along the way, and later the CEPA and other things. But
tell us a little bit about how your business is situated, and give the listeners some idea of what your business is like. We know who you serve, but how big is your team? Who are you typically serving there?
Well, being that we're located in Green Bay, a lot of our clients are here. Though with what we were talking about, this is our 30th year in business. We've got clients that have moved in 18 different states. And clients really across Wisconsin. But we've got 7 people right now, 3 partner advisors, lead advisors. We've got an associate wealth advisor, and then 3 other staff that support us in different ways. We're really we look at our clients as clients of the business. So there's no different people getting paid different amounts off of what they bring in from their clients. So we're all on salary and profit sharing, and we hope that gets us all in line, sitting on the same side of the table, paddling in the same direction.
That's great. I love the analogy. Because when I talk about balance, a lot of times we'll talk about, paddling on just one side of the boat or the stand-up paddleboard, whatever it is. You just kind of go in circles, and it's great to be busy, but it's more important to be productive towards your goals and in your vision. So let's talk about what your definition of balance is. You're a business owner, you've career changer, you've been in other industries that have probably helped shape what you wanted this career to be when you finally figured out what you wanted to be when you grew up. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about balance. What is balance in your definition?
Well, like I mentioned before, it's probably different now than 3 years ago, but right now I think of it as alignment, values, both personal and business being in alignment. Part of the growth or getting past our plateau a few years ago, we actually went through a lengthy process of figuring out what our values were. And by we, I mean my other 2 partners and I, looking at values, turning that into a vision and purpose and, going that way. So we went through a lengthy exercise there, which Carson, our partners, calls blueprinting, they've named. And And it really helped us because now we have a shared vision. It's not just my vision, but shared around the company. And from those values and vision, that's how we set up our goals. And we've adopted EOS and traction. So we've got our quarterly rocks that come down from things, and that's been very helpful.
Excellent. On that's, as you said, it's kind of your definition of balance has progressed. What was it in the past? What would you say has changed so much?
I think that then at least me personally, I think of work-life balance and, thought of it too much as a stress or a push and pull between them. And I think if you really explore your values, personal and business, and get those in line, it feels less of a push and pull one or the other. So even down to trying to bring my personal passions into the business. We talk about passion prospecting of if I've got something I'm passionate about and I can find clients that are, and bring us together over something we all enjoy, and they bring some friends along. It's us all doing things that we love and much more enjoyable than trying to do something prospecting I don't like, and just getting it all in alignment.
Yeah. And part of that is really how to scale your business right without losing your balance, which really my next book, Balanced Growth, is all about. But first you got to figure out, how do you achieve that balance? So backing up just a second, what have been some of your biggest struggles in trying to achieve this balance that you're describing?
Well, a few years ago, we really realized we hit a plateau where we felt like for our level of service, client experience, we couldn't bring on any more clients, that we had to deal with some constraints or our existing clients were going to be hurt. So there's a people part to it, but I talked about my past careers. I joke I'm a recovering engineer. I'm a former Air Force aviator where we lived and died by checklists, an MBA, and, helped with a software company. So I'm very maybe biased towards systems and procedures to make sure we can be as efficient and effective. And my big worry, holistic planning, is things falling between the cracks. So we really struggled, went through 3 CRMs in 2 years. We tried different ways to portfolio management systems, rebalancing, just trying to get more efficient. And I'd been hearing about this silver bullet of all these fintech companies trying to figure out some standard of data. Well, I didn't feel like we were heading anywhere there. And that was a real hassle. So for good or bad, up to that point, it was great. We were with a broker dealer that gave us freedom to, choose any of a number of financial planning programs and so on. And I think I love freedom and choice, but that really hurt us. So we started looking, we're either going to have to form our own RIA and pay somebody to bring all these systems together so we don't have to enter the same data 3 or 4 different ways. It's driving clients and us nuts how many software we had to log into. So we started looking at that, or another RIA that's already got this figured out we're in alignment with. And our choice, what was best for us, is we found a company that is really focused on building, and they have now a data warehouse that we just have to input information on a client one place, and it goes in financial planning, the reporting, the CRM, and for that side really helped us get through that. But then as I thought, as the numbers geeky guy, recovering engineer, at first I thought this isn't something you just throw people at that is going to solve it. But once we got efficient, now we really had to focus on the people, because we're a service business. It's all about the people. If you don't have the right people, you're not going to have good service. So that's the most recent thing. Now that we solved the technology, it's really focusing on people. And here we are into a time where it's a very tight labor market and everybody's competing for those good people. And that's the new challenge we're going to be dealing with for a long time, I think.
Yeah, it's so true. The new bottleneck for scaling and growing is oftentimes your own team. I met with and did a webinar earlier this week that we were recording here in June, guys, but I did this earlier this week where the guests we had, the Roberts, were talking about their service, and helping advisors find those employees. But we also talked about, employee retention. If you're not paying them enough, if you're not keeping up with what's going on in the labor market right now, it's very difficult, because now not only have you lost someone who got poached, now you're having to find someone else in a worse market than before.
Right.
This is absolutely a struggle. And what have you done, Doug, to try and figure that part out?
Well, we started by looking at retention. You don't want to be bringing in good new people if you're losing good ones out the back door. So we really looked at our overall focusing on our culture, but really looking at benefits and all those other things. So we've got a maternity policy that's probably twice as good as the average company out there when we researched it. And we're really looking at everything we can do that way and always reviewing it. And I was reviewing it. There was kind of a webinar about, benefits and retention, and looking through, we've got that. And then I see EAP. Well, I never thought about that. So contacted somebody and we're bringing in an EAP. I mean, you look at the pandemic and what that did to people, I think it's made mental health an even more difficult thing. So just trying to be, it reminds me, as I was thinking about it, that old quote that I always have to remind myself: if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Well, it's not just mama, but if things aren't going well at home and you don't have a way, that's going to affect everything at work and vice versa.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's not so much a tug of war as it is overlap, right? You're bringing stress home from work, and it's difficult to then be focused there and present with your family members, and they want you there. They want you present. They want your time. They want your energy and love and relationship. So, this is something you've noticed. What do you see else in the industry? You have a team of advisors. You built that. You also have you've served in other careers. You're a recovering engineer. You moved into this phase. And what have you seen with other advisors in the industry that you've rubbed shoulders with in whatever respect? What are they struggling with balance?
What I see a lot, and maybe it's because we've got a young person, we're moving up. She's moved from paraplanner up to associate wealth advisor, and how to get her prepared to be that lead advisor down the line. I think for young people, it's not so much the technical things. She's working through her CFP and all those things. I think it's, how do I deal, she's 31, with these clients in their 60s and 70s, making them comfortable, that relationship. So I think the thing we're working on is, for those younger people moving in, is really getting them with the lead advisors and a couple years of sitting in on a lot of meetings and learning that way. Because you can't really send somebody 25 out to a seminar or a certificate and they're going to learn how to really manage that relationship. I think we're good at hiring and getting people that are technically good, but how do you get that relationship management? How do you answer those questions and get somebody that's 70 to respect you as a 25 or 30-year-old?
Yeah, precisely. Is it definitely a challenge? What do you think are some other issues that advisors face as they're trying to scale their business, while keeping that balance? You mentioned what your guys were struggling with hiring and the software, which is, I hear that all the time. It's very, very common. What do other advisors you think struggle with when it comes to scaling aspect?
I see a couple different things. I think a lot of us get into this industry. We want to be advisors. We want to be doing those things and then realize we're struggling with three different hats. We've got the practitioner. I've got to stay up on all the tax law changes, estate planning changes, what's going on in the markets. But I've also got to be that kind of fiduciary hat of making sure we're, doing the best things for our clients. And sometimes that's dealing not just with regulators, but the companies you're affiliated with and so on. And then there's the thing we know but ignore is I'm a business owner. So how am I a practitioner doing the best for my clients and managing that business? And I think it's that managing the business a lot of times that gets people. It's not what we came to do. It's not what we love. I have to do payroll. I have to figure out benefits. I have to deal with, so many different things, and bringing those together is one. That's a big thing of balance. And at what time do we outsource and what can we outsource? And when do I bring somebody in to manage versus me trying to be a manager? Those are things getting in the way and keeping us up at night sometimes.
Yeah. You touched on a really important piece, and that is when do we, as a business owner, involve ourselves? When do we delegate? When do we manage this? How do we train others? What has been something that's helped you to do that well in order to scale?
I think it's really when we stepped in and started using EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or Traction. I think I was good at delegating, asking for help, but what was missing and really was provided through that is accountability. You've got to have a way to delegate and and hold people accountable, but give them that latitude and flexibility. Don't want to tell them, here's what to do and how I want you to do it, but here's what we need done that you're in charge of. I don't care so much how you get it done, but we need to keep reconnecting and holding each other accountable on this. That's, I think, what's really helped me. We've got different partners that want to hold on too much, and I was one to kind of delegate too much without the accountability and then get hurt by things later on.
Yeah. So having a good balance of both the delegation and, the accountability and training. It sounds like there's some of that involved. I know this comes up pretty much every podcast. We talk about delegation. It is a constant, and on the show, and some might really focus on just letting go and getting rid of. But like you said, if your tendency is to get rid of really fast and easy, and it's an easy thing for you to do, but you haven't done the training and there's no accountability, then it may come back to bite you.
Exactly.
So I can see how EOS and other, and Traction work really well. Something that we do, and I mentioned in the Achieving Balance book, is really identify what is my role? What is it that I actually do? And I'm not talking like good to great type of like, where's my role, but what are the actual activities, the very specific activities that make up my sweet spot? And how do I stay in that sweet spot? Just yesterday, I did an exercise with several advisors, and just having that clarity of knowing, if I could just come into work and create plans, present plans, talk to, new prospects, clients, referrals, and, be on my podcast or speak Like those are the things that usually rise to the top. If I could just do those things, not only do they pay you more, but everything else, if you could delegate or at least minimize or automate some of these things or get rid of completely, wow, the stress level of at least what we call distress level would go way down, and you didn't have much higher enjoyability. This is an exercise that we talk about again, achieving balance. The business time management worksheet, I think it's in like chapter 6 or 7 here, right off the top of my head, but it's there. And if you haven't done it yet, I think that's absolutely essential to then, now what do I delegate? Now, how do I keep accountable? If you use an EOS or a traction system, sounds like a really great match. What advice would you give to other advisors who are struggling with balance? They're struggling with scaling. They want to get to the point where they're, where you're at, we're able to delegate and really feel like you're running it as an entrepreneur. You're running this as a business.
The thing I found is it's really difficult, but that being honest, like you said, what do I like and what am I good at? But what do we really have to do and what can we outsource, I call it. And we were for a long time, several of our decades, so possessive of the investing. We thought we were very good at managing portfolios, choosing investments and doing that. And it ended up, we liked it. We thought it was important. It took so much time. And now looking back, I wouldn't have said it then. I think the investing side, the building portfolios, is almost one of the more commoditized things. And what we stepped back, and when we partnered with our new partners, Carson, they've got a whole team, an investment team, PhDs, CFAs, and we had to realize, they can do it as well, if not better than us. And having somebody doing that has freed us up for what I really love. And I think we can provide more value. So we used to think that was our value. Now we've got a very different figure on that. We really get involved with the tax planning. And, I feel like what I can save clients over retirement in taxes is worth more than, alpha on a set of investments. So now I've got time. I didn't have as much time. So we're freed up to really do the in-depth planning with clients. And so it's finding where you're spending your time, like you said, but being realistic about where can I really add the value? And if I can find somebody that can take something that's, 30% of my time away that I can devote to that value. And that was hard for us to get through. It was a big mental hurdle and bias that we had. I'd been told by consultants for years, you should delegate, this part of the investment, and we just wouldn't listen to them. And now I can see they were right, and maybe we could have done that a long time ago.
What you mentioned there is like super critical. There are other companies, other businesses that probably do what you think you do best better. Partnerships can be incredibly beneficial because you're able to delegate or at least use those shared resources a whole lot better. And while, I'm a proponent of that, it's hard to measure that until you have some data or you have some other advisors who maybe are using it and you're asking around. And the power of the mastermind in this industry is huge because of that very piece. You can gain some traction in that way. But at the same time, maybe on the flip side is to play a little bit of some devil's advocate, which I don't typically like to do, but on the devil's advocate side, what is it that your company really specializes in? That is really, the question I think you were kind of alluding to is, what do we do the best, better than anyone else? That is like the hedgehog, right? As Good to Great talks about. And as a company, as a business, Blaine Weiss, who was on our podcast several months ago, I'll have to see which episode that he was on, but Blaine Weiss does a fantastic job of helping financial advisor companies, RIAs, independent RIAs, figure that piece out. What is it that we actually do? What do we do better than anyone else? And then what as a business we can outsource? So I love that you've gone and taken it kind of a step further out from the individual to as a company. Where do we really shine, and what can we partner with and utilize those resources so that we don't have to be managing portfolios, right? Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it, Doug. It's great. I appreciate you, giving your advice. Yeah. Anything else you would suggest to listeners out there who are trying to, grapple with this, like how they begin, or maybe how they improve this, company-wide scaling?
I think right with kind of what you talked about, partnerships, we've been hearing from the press and consultants for years about fee compression coming. And I think that's less of a big deal than it is service expansion, almost expectations that are built in that, we have been for years, but everybody's forced to be holistic planners. And how are you going to deliver the estate planning, the tax planning, the portfolio management, and all of that? And we're seeing these huge companies that have internal trust departments that they've got internally. They're doing tax prep and tax planning. And how are we as solo or small companies going to compete with them? And that's, really looking at that partnering and somehow being able to compete there. And I think that's a challenge going on that I don't hear that much about. So
yeah,
that's what we've been working on.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that one. It's also, the more partnerships, the more individuals you work with, there is a level of complexity. And some don't want to take it to that level. Some want to keep that in-house because of the complexity factor. I've actually heard from probably some business class somewhere that I took that the more individuals or, process or people you just put in that process, it exacerbates the complexity by 10. So I can understand that. But I think if the overall value is able to take you out of that equation, right, it may negate the complexity factor and hire someone that can manage the different partnerships as an operation. So I think, do I hire an assistant or do I hire an operations manager? And I would say both. Like, have an assistant for you, have an operations manager for the company, so they can manage those relationships well. Well, this has been good. I really appreciate this opportunity, Doug, to really ask you these questions and the insights you have as a recovering engineer. If advisors want to reach out to you, they want to stay in contact with you, where should they go?
Our website or my email's doug@heritagefinancialllc.com or heritagefinancialllc.com. Be happy to talk about all the mistakes I've made with other people.
Appreciate it. It's been great. And you guys, if you've liked this type of conversation or this conversation specifically, like, share, give us a great rating on the podcast. We've actually recently been rated in the top 25 advisor podcasts. So that's a fantastic feat there with FeedStack. I think they were the ones who were sending out those ratings. We're number 24. So something to brag about, something to be happy about. It's because of you. It's because of listeners that are excited. It's because of great guests like Doug, who are bringing their expertise and sharing this with their audience. So thank you for that. Thank you for spending the time with us, Doug. Until next time, and listeners, thank you for making the time to helping achieve balance. And remember to live life on purpose.